Gary began its existence as nothing more than an ordinary, regular houseplant, cherished by his elderly owner, Mrs. Hilda. After her passing, he was left alone, gradually gaining sentience through his isolation and desperation for acknowledgement. Over time, his obsession with being noticed twisted into something dark and malevolent. Eventually, his despair and rage transformed him into an incomprehensible, unstoppable force of nature, one that ensures his victim's absolute demise. A vibrant young couple, Jamie and Sarah, stands outside their new home, excitement radiating from their smiles as they converse animatedly with a realtor. Sarah's attention is drawn to Gary, sitting innocently on the windowsill, nearly beckoning her. However, Gary was far from an ordinary plant. He thrived on neglect and despair, growing more powerful with each passing day. Days morph into weeks, and the couple finds themselves embroiled in increasingly frequent arguments. Jamie articulates his mounting frustration with Gary. Jamie, this plant is nothing but a nuisance. There are leaves scattered everywhere, and I'm utterly tired of dealing with it. Sarah, it's just a plant, Jamie. We can manage him without any issues. Jamie, he's an inconvenience, Sarah. We didn't sign up for this level of hassle. Their heated exchange escalates, the tension within the house thickening as Gary's presence looms ominously in the background. Later that fateful night, Jamie awakens, gripped by an overwhelming sense of dread and foreboding. An inexplicable compulsion pulls him toward Gary, as if an unseen force is guiding his every move. As he approaches the plant, he is taken aback to discover that Gary has tripled in size, his leaves unfurling menacingly and casting dark, foreboding shadows around the room. Jamie's heart races uncontrollably as he tentatively reaches out to make contact with Gary. Suddenly, the plant's vines lash out, ensnaring him in their vice-like grip. Jamie screams in absolute terror as the vines constrict around him with brutal force, and in a horrifying instant, he disappears into thin air, leaving behind not a single trace. A few days later, Sarah finds herself grappling with the weight of Jamie's unexplained absence, feeling increasingly isolated in the house. She sits on the couch, tears cascading down her cheeks, convinced he left her due to their prior disagreements over Gary. She picks up her phone, frantically dialing his number, but is met with the chilling silence of a disconnected line. Suddenly, an unsettling chill envelopes the room. She wipes away her tears and rises, searching desperately for any sign of him. As she steps into the kitchen, her heart races with mounting anxiety. There, draped ominously over one of the kitchen table chairs, she sees what appears to be Jamie's skin, stretched and hollow, devoid of bones, muscles, or organs. Terrified and frantic, Sarah backs away, her eyes darting nervously to Gary, who now seems even more menacing in her eyes. Overcome by panic, she seizes the pot and angrily hurls Gary outside onto the cold, hard concrete. The pot shatters upon impact, soil spilling everywhere and exposing Gary's twisted roots to the open air. Sarah exclaims, "I refuse to let you take me too." She watches in disbelief as Gary lies in disarray, roots exposed, a grotesque remnant of what he once was, yet still emanating an eerie sense of power. Determined to escape the horror that has engulfed her life, Sarah rushes to her car and embarks on a long and grueling journey, driving for hours until she finally arrives at her parents' home after a relentless 12-hour drive. Exhausted and shaken, she collapses into bed, feeling a mix of relief and lingering dread. That night, around 2 a.m., she awakens suddenly, a chilling sensation coursing through her veins. Confused and disoriented, she scans the darkened room, trying to shake off the remnants of her nightmares. To her horror, she sees Gary, now fully restored to his grotesque form, standing ominously at the foot of her bed, his presence overwhelming and suffocating. Sarah screams, "No! How could you possibly be here?" She screams in sheer terror as Gary inches closer, and in a horrifying instant, she vanishes from her bed, leaving only an eerie silence in her wake. In the quiet town of Hollow Creek, the house stands empty, yet Gary remains, a chilling testament to the horrors that lie beneath the surface. Beware of the things you overlook, for they may be patiently waiting to grow and reclaim what is rightfully theirs.